We are joined in the studio by a very exciting candidate running for Pearland Independent School District's school board. We are joined by Mike Floyd, who is running for, I believe it is position 2.
Position 2.
Pearland's school board.
Yes, sir. It's
Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad to be here.
So why are you running for school board in Pearland?
Right. So I've been in the public education system now for 13 years. I started in pre-K and have gone all the way up. And so I think that experience of actually being inside the system, understanding how the system works, how it doesn't work as well as being an active member of my community for the past 7 years, managing political campaigns, setting up volunteer efforts, raising record numbers of with the Pearland Police Department for a Toys for Tots drive. So continually I've been active and engaged in the community, and so I know a lot about the issues that Pearland's facing. And so in my view, the way that this education system has been operated in Pearland has not been one to be proud of. It's not one that has yielded a lot of high results that we expect. And so I think that a new shift in perspective, bringing a progressive voice, would benefit the city, it'd benefit the school district. And so I think that the policies that I've proposed, as well as the leadership change that we need, would really benefit Pearland ISD as a whole. And I think the greater area would also benefit as well, saying, you know what, a progressive voice can get elected out in the suburbs of Houston.
Now you seem very mature. You look mature and you sound mature, but you are a high school senior.
Right.
You are graduating next month, right?
Right, I am graduating in May 26th. Yeah.
So you are still in school. You are still in a school that you will be in charge of if
I win, right? Yes, sir.
For school board. How can you set policy if you're so young, if you're still in school?
And so that's one of the concerns that I've heard most on the campaign trail is, why should we, vest our children's public education?
Are you going to expand recess to 3 hours or something?
Well, I will tell you this. I was the kid who got 6,000 signatures to change the dress code, and we did so. I was a kid who advocated in 4th grade for higher quality school lunches. We created petitions. In the 8th grade, we fixed a design flaw in the way that our students were being ushered into the cafeteria, which saved our school district from a multi-million-dollar lawsuit. So I've been active and engaged in implementing policies that have worked before.
So you're already setting policy.
Well, I've already been setting policy, yes, as a student. And so that's why a lot of folks on the school board don't like me right now, because essentially I'm saying, as an 18-year-old student, I can do a better job than you've been doing. And so I think that when people hear what I have to say and understand that this is a serious campaign, because there's a lot of serious changes we need, the message resonates, and people understand that it would be great to have the insight of a student, someone who knows what their kids are going through, who knows what the teachers are going through. Because when it comes down to the bottom line, I've been in the public school system for 13 years. That's 9.5 months out of the year, 40 hours a week. And so I've made connections with teachers. I know the issues that they're facing, as well as the issues that administration is facing, in terms of budget and financing. So those are all issues we have to look at. And so I think that, setting policy requires a new perspective who says, yes, we can focus on the issues. Yes, we can provide solutions instead of giving up excuses and saying, there's no way around it.
So most students, if they're in your position right now with less than 2 months to go before graduation, they've either got a bad case of senioritis or they're preparing for their first year of college.
Right, that's true.
You are running for a public office.
Right.
What politicized you?
Well, I think a lot of variables did. My first real campaign was in 2008. I actually worked on Obama's campaign. I was inspired by it, and so I was, riding around town with an Obama bumper sticker on. And so since then, of course, my politics has changed a bit. I've seen a lot of the flaws that our system has in terms of, education, criminal justice, environment, campaign finance. And so when you look at the picture, for me, it's more about saying we don't, as young people, have the luxury to wait anymore. We have a lot of issues. You can talk about foreign policy disasters. You know what? The biggest issue that I think young people are going to have to face and address is climate change. And I think the older generations have pushed back that issue, saying we'll deal with it when its time comes. And I'm saying, and a lot of young people say this as well, is that we don't have the time to wait. And so if we cannot, guarantee that our elected officials will do the job that they need to do today, then we're going to have to get elected ourselves and bring that change. So if they're not willing to give us a seat on the table, we have to take a seat from the table. And so I think that's what, that's why you see young people in record numbers signing up, saying that they want to run for office in 2018. There are May elections that should have gotten involved now. but I'm excited to see that young people are stepping up.
So what specific policies would you like to focus on
Right.
the school board?
So Pearland ISD has a terrible track record with transparency. It's one of the things that the community complains about, regardless of partisan affiliation. One of the votes this year that was really disastrous was a 7-0 vote, a full unanimous vote, to move the public comment sign-up time in order to talk to your trustees. They moved it to 4:30 p.m. So if you're working until 5, or even if you get off at 4 and you have to drive through 288 traffic, you're not going to be there to talk to your school board. And so obviously that's one of the things I want to change. And they did that because there was, public outcry against a lot of their policies when it comes to transgender rights, when it comes to the way that they're financing, the way that they're actually educating our students. There's a really reactive and reactionary way. And so they purposely passed this resolution to avoid as much public comment as they can.
And you would like to restore the public's...
I would like to move it and expand it as well. It was already, in its original state, not big enough. It was only about 5 people could talk for about 5 minutes each. And I think we should move that to an hour-long segment where folks can come into the school board and say, you know what, this is what my child's going through. This is what you need to understand from my perspective. So that's one of the policies that I want to change. I also want to change the way that the district is treating its students. We've had a lot of bad PR in Pearland ISD because of the way that administrators have been treating students. And you saw that with the way that a principal at one of our schools called an African American girl disgusting for choosing to not stand up during the Pledge of Allegiance. That may be his own personal opinion, but as a school official, he has to be held to a higher standard. And not a single trustee spoke out about that. Not a single superintendent spoke out about that. When you look at how they've treated the transgender community, the superintendent is on record saying that transgender kids are like pedophiles. And if we legalize, allowing individuals to choose a bathroom that they identify with, he advocated that, polygamy would come next. And he said that the only way that we can successfully manage a school district is if we return to a biblical basis. Otherwise, we will not continue to have God's favor. That's his quote. And so to me, as a public official, you can have whatever personal opinion you want, but when you are representing a large and diverse school district of over 22,000 students who are some Muslim, some Christian, some Buddhist, some atheist, who some are gay and straight, some are transgender, you have to represent all of them to the best of your capability. And I think that in his official capacity of Dr. Kelly as superintendent, he violated a lot of what our community stands for and what the progressive movement stands for. And so I think that that's, again, a definite one of the policies I want to implement is a non-discriminatory policy.
Now, people may say that there's a lot more that goes into being on school board than some of these higher profile issues. There's a lot of nuts and bolts to this.
Right.
And that you don't have enough experience in order to address those bread and butter type issues.
Okay.
What would be your response to that?
Well, I would say that, as someone who's been, again, in the school system, that perspective is priceless. And I can tell you, what kind of floors they're putting in, the overcrowding at our high schools, the infrastructure problems that we have. They waited in Pearland ISD until our schools were literally crumbling to when our water became toxic in our public schools for them to pass a multi-million, $220 million bond. And so, that kind of priority shows the lack of leadership and the lack of vision. But to those who would say that I can't handle the nuts and bolts of running a school district, I would say that that's the purpose of having a broad board of trustees. That's why you have multiple members in the council, so that you can have different perspectives. So whenever there is a challenge, whenever there is a problem, you can look at solutions from every single angle. And I think that perspective of being a student, you have your builders and your mothers and your fathers up there on the school board, you don't have a single student. And so even though they say they represent all the students, I can guarantee you that, as president of my school, I've not met with a single trustee once. And to me, that is a obligation for the school board to reach out to the students and understand what they're going through. So that's one of the reasons I'm running, yeah.
So in a race like yours, turnout is absolutely key. Right. Sometimes there'll be less than 1,000 voters in these elections. So every single vote in your race counts.
Yes.
How can people get involved with your campaign to try to assist you in your race?
So if they're interested, what they can do is they can go to my Facebook page. It's Vote Floyd or Mike Floyd for Pearland. Or they can go to www.votefloyd.com, VOTEFLOYD.com. They can click on the contact button, and then they can sign up on a registration or a volunteer form. Either they can sign up for email reminders or they can donate to the campaign. But essentially, what we need right now is boots on the ground volunteers. And so if they want to get involved, they can go to the www.votefloyd.com, or they can check out my Facebook page.
And you're doing block walking, phone banking.
We are doing block walks.
Grassroots politics.
Absolutely, this is a grassroots campaign. You know, we have pledged not to take any corporate checks or even special interest checks. And so we really is a people-powered campaign. We have a lot of volunteers, which I'm very grateful to have. And we have a great campaign team really working on handing out literature to every voter, knocking on doors, making phone calls. And so we need more people to help assist us in this movement. And so if they want to get engaged, they can do so by those means.
Mike Floyd, running for Pearland School Board, thank you very much for being on the program. Best of luck to you in your campaign.
Thank you so much.